afternoon to all of you. We will start straight away because they give us only 20 minutes. So, renewable power and how much it will depend on battery storage, which is a very big question, because I would say it will depend more than 100% on battery storage. The success of renewable power or green power to be used in data center will depend on battery storage. Because what is happening presently is that every data center wants to use green power or renewable sources of energy. So everybody says, okay, we are 50%, we are 40%, and some people have put milestones of 100%, that we will achieve 100% by this year or that year. But how they will achieve? Because the large quantum of green power or renewable sources of energy is solar power. And there are 100 megawatt power stations, solar power stations, 500 megawatt solar power stations. And surprisingly, these power stations trip every day. At 7 o'clock they go off, just like it is an office job. And only 9 o'clock morning, that power station will come back online. Obviously, data centers cannot survive on such power. We are looking for power which is absolutely continuous and absolutely reliable with very high uptime. So obviously, presently, the grid is depending on these lot of renewable sources of energy, including solar power, and data centers are taking this power, announcing that we are using green power, and every data center wants to be 100% green power, because data centers are supposed to be guzzlers of electricity, although I differ on that, but anyway, for some other time. But yes, it is known in the world that data centers are guzzlers of electricity, power, and they are the biggest culprit for CO2 and all of that environmental issues. So therefore, everybody wants to use green power or renewable sources of energy. How will they if solar power is not available throughout the day? The only other sources of energy available, similar sources of energy, are wind power, hydropower, biogas power, and to some extent nuclear power, although it is debatable. But these other three or four are the other sources of energy. Now, the bulk of the power required for all data centers to be 100% green has to come from solar. And unless we use batteries, the solar power cannot survive for a very long time. So in India, there is a huge capacity of solar power, but very small capacity of that solar power today is backed up by a battery. So all of these power stations are working during day, and during night they go off, and during day they are not actually producing their full capacity, because there are many of them. And so all the solar power stations today are producing part of their capacity, and the part they are wasting because there are no takers unless you give whole time. So yes, it is a large dependence. I would involve my colleagues now. I will ask Mr. Mahesh to speak on this. He is one of the biggest battery manufacturer. So who else better than a battery manufacturer to tell us the present status of use of batteries in solar power stations, how much they are using, how should they use, and what is the India's future in that? Mr. Mahesh.
Good evening. Thank you, sir. Solar energy is so free to all of us. If we use the potential energy for 1 hour in a day, the solar energy, it can light up the entire country. But there are drawbacks. The first drawback is land. Second is that you need proper grid connect, because if you're going to set up a solar plant far away, you need a grid connect. Third, if you are getting the bandwidth to transport the power to your data center, you need to store that type of power. So you need energy storage systems. It is all captive power, captive investment. So there is a part of it that is missing there is that, like how sir said, that in the evening you don't have generation. How are you going to fit in? So you need to get different type of renewable energy into it. So you have compressed air, you have pump storage, you have wind. And I would say that India has got a very large coastline. If we start tapping the tidal wave, you'll have better type of energies. Tidal is not yet picked up in the global scale. So there are challenges. The challenges are also based on policy from the government. So it's going to take its time. But having said that, we have 450 gigawatt of solar energy already in the country. And if we have to consider saving the type of energy which is getting waste, we need to store it. What is the amount of storage energy that we need? Is huge, and it requires a lot of batteries. So it's a challenge.
Thank you, Mr. Mahesh. I would now request Mr. Dhananjay to throw his views on this subject.
Thank you, sir. Today we are all like part of the data center, and we all know the power is like the nerve for the data center. We are also talking about the renewable energy that is must because the power is needing. We are becoming the one world. That's what data center is coming. And what Jain sir has said, absolutely, like we are facing issue. Mahesh sir has also said, like we are facing challenges. The reason being, we are particularly talk about the India. We suddenly spurge into the data center 4 years back. I think it's hardly known, but now we are talking so many locations, exponential growth in data center, and that's why the power demand has also gone up. So to cater this, I feel infrastructure is a must. Technocrats and bureaucrats, they must need to sit together. They need to focus on infrastructure, where the power renewable energy will get produced, how it will get transport, and how it meet the demand. The beauty of the data center is, the power demand is fixed. Once if we say a data center of 10 megawatt, it will continuously demand 10 megawatt of power. So accordingly back end can be planned. We can say it's a supply chain. As we know, sir just recently has given his thought how the power will be produced, how it will get transportation to that location, and when it is required, how it will get stored. So I believe that as we grow ahead, a storage technology will be must, because we need to run the data center, because people are connected with each other, countries are getting connected with each other. We are having the data of one location to another location, and that is in the fraction of second we can access that. This is all happening because of data center, transportation of data, and the power behind that. So I simply say, like as we move ahead, we need to continuously focus how we can improve, what challenges we are facing, and how we can tackle that. Solution, by it comes like on the way if you like hit our head over there. Yeah.
Thank you, Dhananjay. Let me also give you a statistical view of the whole thing, that if data centers were to use only green power, how much storage is actually needed? Today, India's grid has an installed capacity of 450 gigawatt. So total installed capacity in India, including thermal and non-renewable and everything end to end, is 450 gigawatt. And data center installed capacity today is 1 gigawatt. So out of 450 gigawatt, what data center is using is only 1 gigawatt. Or rather installed capacity, use is little less. So there also the use out of 450 gigawatt, the peak power in 2024 summer drawn by India is only 250 gigawatt out of the 450 gigawatt installed capacity. Whereas data center today installed capacity is around 1000 megawatt, which is 1 gigawatt, and the drawn power is around 600 megawatt. So for data center industry, we are 0.22% as on today of the national grid, which is very low compared to what US has. US is around more than 2%. We are 0.22%. Of course, in next 4 or 5 years, it's going to grow multifold. But yet, it's not a very big figure. So yes, a lot of energy storage is being installed in, as we talk now, in India, lot of energy storage projects have come up and they are being installed, and maybe from next year onwards, lot of solar power would actually be available on a 24-hour basis from some of these renewable sources, energy producers. Today, if data center was to buy renewable power from a solar power station, it can buy only during the day, the block. But for the night, the data center has to depend on grid, which again will give a mixed power of all of kind of powers available in the grid. So therefore, the figures are not very big if only data center were to manage this. Although for the solar industry and for the battery industry, it's a big figure. Putting up at least 1 gigawatt or 2 gigawatt of battery storage in India is itself is a big and a mammoth task. I would request again Mr. Mahesh to throw some light on this as what kind of figures could be involved in this if data centers were to depend on this. And one more thing just I missed, that another, he had mentioned very briefly, another way of storage is pumped storage. So while battery, is a very costly kind of a thing and batteries availability and lot of space required, but pump storage is a very good way of storage. So there are dams which are hydro dams which are getting emptied when, when from rainy season to the winter season they go. This water is going down and collecting in some downstream lake. That water can be pumped back in the daytime when an extra solar energy is available access during the day. It can be pumped back to the hydro dam, and then during night again it can be used. So this is another way of usage or storage of the power in the grid. So I would now request Mr. Mahesh to throw some figures as to what could be the involvement and how is the industry gearing up.
I can surely say this, that today lithium-ion batteries have become a boon to the industry, especially to the renewable energy side, because the amount of energy storage system that has come into play has helped evacuation of power in the solar. So a data center can install an energy storage system on the outside of the building and store the energy, buy the energy from the grid or from the solar plants on a lean rate, store that energy and use that energy at a peak rate and bring down your cost. So that is one way out. The second way out is using compressed air. Like pump storage is using the water up back. Compressed air is also a very good methodology. It's a mechanical process of energy storage. It's a very good one. It uses air, and air is available. So that could become a good solution for data center from a point of view of captive power. So these are two things. But coming to the current scenario, with the amount of lithium batteries, I tell you it's a boon, because all the EVs plying on the road, after it's reached its life, they need a second life use. These batteries are coming back into energy storage system as second life use. From a point of view that you don't have that many recycling plants, so these batteries are coming back into energy storage because you don't use it on a cyclic purpose, you use it for grid systemization. So this is already available. India is already ready. There are many companies that are bringing out energy storage systems, and it's a good idea to put energy storage system for a data center.
Thank you, Mahesh. Maybe Dhananjay would want to say the last word.
See, since we are talking about renewable energy, and then one is solar, another is wind energy, and if you see Indian geography, I think we are fortunate to have different kind of sources. Few states they will always give a good wind energy. Few states they are really good producer of the solar energy. Biomass, yes, it's commonly available across the India, and with the combination of this, we can really make a sustainable solution for the data center. Yes, energy storage solution need to be improvement, because since it is not controlled one, it is depend on the nature. So we need to have the energy storage system, and obviously the way we walk ahead, technology will come, and that will give the answer for us, like how this sustainable energy solution, like data center based on the renewable will go ahead. But yes, I'm very much confident that, like as we walk the way today the world is moving. It's moving very fast in terms of action, in terms of technology, and everybody is struggling to bring to use this renewable energy. That's the need of the hour. So obviously, battery energy storage system, I think it will give the good answer when we walk ahead.
Thank you, Dhananjay. I would now suggest that we take a couple of questions instead of we all giving you more gyan. Deborah allows, we can take not even one. Okay, so no questions allowed. You can ask us when we are off stage. Thank you.